In 2025, a blockbuster will be released featuring the lead actress from Resident Evil, Mila Jovovich, alongside the muscular actor Dave Bautista. The post-apocalyptic world setting along with bizarre monsters will surely be a visual feast for you. Without further ado, let's dive into the main content. Many years ago, a great war turned the entire world into a wasteland, with most of the land becoming forbidden zones for humans. All the survivors gathered in the last remaining city to seek refuge. They call the outside world the Land of Oblivion, and it is rumored that all sorts of bizarre creatures are born there. The church in the city captured a witch from the Land of Oblivion. The cardinal decided to burn her at the stake on the spot, but they underestimated the witch's terrifying power. Her eyes possessed a magical power that could enchant people's hearts. A devotee entranced by the illusion freed the witch with his own hands and even shot his comrades. A tense chase and counter-chase unfolded in an abandoned building. Finally, the witch managed to overpower the cardinal with her agility, then hung her on the gallows. Since then, the powerful image of the witch Alice has been etched into everyone's minds. A witch cannot be hanged. A witch cannot be hanged. The reputation of Colonna the Good, the queen of the city, personally came to meet her. After dismissing all her attendants, the queen assigned Alice a rewarding task. It was to go to the Land of Oblivion, find a person with superpowers, strip some of their power and bring it back to the queen. Alice initially intended to refuse but ultimately agreed. The queen left satisfied. Her chief guard secretly approached Alice and also assigned her a task, which was to sabotage the queen's plan to inherit the superpowers. Such a conflicting task was something Alice would normally not accept, but in the end Alice nodded in agreement. Additionally, when Alice acquired the witch's powers, she also had to bear an eternal curse, which was that she could not refuse anyone's request. This was also the main reason she lived in seclusion, in the Forgotten Land for many years, not daring to associate with anyone. After everyone left, Alice activated the witch's divine eye. She saw on the Skull Riverbank in the Forgotten Land a few hunters were chasing a werewolf. But after just a few encounters, they were defeated by the opponent. Alice broke out in a cold sweat. Although this werewolf was very strong among those with extraordinary abilities, his superpower was the easiest to predict. Alice sought out Boyce, the most reputable bounty hunter in the city. It was said that he frequently operated in the Forgotten Land and was very familiar with the situation there. Alice promised a large bounty, hoping Boyce would lead her to find the werewolf and kill him on the full moon night. True to the saying money can buy anything, Boyce readily accepted the offer. However, Alice withheld a portion, stating that the remaining bounty would be paid upon reaching Skull River. At that moment, the cardinal, accompanied by several followers, burst into the tavern, clearly intending to capture Alice. Boyce reacted swiftly, throwing out two snakes from either end of his holster. Amidst the chaos among the followers, he and Alice managed to escape. Not long after, the Pope of the Church received news that the Queen had commissioned the witch to undertake a secret mission in the Land of Oblivion. The Pope's expression twisted, ordering that the witch be brought back to the city at all costs. Meanwhile, Alice and Boyce were spending the night in a dilapidated abandoned building on the outskirts of the city. The two of them were like strangers, with no trust between them at all. Alice was sleeping when she felt someone near. Boyce stabbed the dagger, killing the poisonous scorpion near Alice. The two of them looked at each other without saying a word. There were 5 days left until the full moon night. Alice didn't dare to delay even for a second. They ran all day across the wasteland and finally reached a farm. This place was home to a pair of siblings who had been friends with Boyce for many years. The younger sister had a special relationship with him. Whenever Boyce went on a mission, he would stop by here to stay for a night. Although the two were not officially married, they cherished each other greatly. The next day before departing, Boyce expressed concerns about the upcoming journey. At their current pace, it would take them at least another week to reach Skull River. Alice naturally disagreed. She had to kill the werewolf on the night of the full moon in the werewolf's lair to complete the ritual to strip him of his power. Boyce could only change the route, which was to follow the railway tracks to save 3 days. Alice and the two brothers had just parted ways when the church drove a train to chase them out of the city. They quickly followed the trail and found the two brothers. Seeing her brother's life being threatened, the younger sister finally revealed Alice's final destination. At this point, there were only 3 days left until the full moon night. Alice had entered the central area of the Forgotten Land. Looking around, there were ruins everywhere. The city center was divided by a deep chasm. Fortunately, Boyce knew a quick way to get across. He led Alice into an abandoned building. There, an old friend of his who specialized in cable cars helped travelers quickly cross the fractured canyon. However, Boyce called out repeatedly but received no response. He had a bad feeling. After making a large round through the building, they discovered that his friend had been hanged to death in the attic. Clearly someone had arrived before them. Boyce turned around once more to see the aggressive church followers. This time they were clearly prepared, even capturing Boyce's lover. The cardinal, without saying a word, shot his sister dead on the spot. Boyce roared in anger, drawing his weapon to fight desperately against the followers, and this was exactly what the cardinal wanted. Fortunately, Alice didn't lose her composure and quickly pulled Boyce to escape the scene. Just 1 second later, they would have been blown to pieces by a tank. Both quickly jumped onto a bus that had been converted into a cable car. After forcibly starting it, they swiftly slid to the other side of the chasm. The fanatical followers did not give up. They swarmed towards the bus like locusts. Alice and Boyce seemed invincible. It looked like they were about to deal with all the pursuers. Seeing this, the cardinal ordered the fanatical followers to stop cutting the cable car. In the blink of an eye, the cable car bus turned into a swing, carrying Alice and Boyce to the opposite cliff. Boyce held on tightly, preventing himself from falling. However, the cable could not withstand such weight. After the bus fell, Boyce managed to cling to a rock on the cliff, but he was not completely out of danger yet. The cardinal, on the other side of the chasm, took out a sniper rifle, aimed, and without hesitation pulled the trigger. She was preparing to fire another shot when Alice unleashed her witch powers. The cardinal felt dizzy. When she came to, Alice and Boyce had vanished without a trace. Under the sky filled with dark clouds, the two reached a ruined area to administer first aid to their wounds. Boyce gritted his teeth as he extracted the bullet lodged in his muscle. However, he fainted from extreme weakness. Alice carefully stitched his wound with a needle. After Boyce regained consciousness, he still couldn't get over the pain of losing his two brothers, believing that the actions of the church were even more cruel than the beasts in the Forgotten Lands. This was also the reason he preferred to wander outside rather than stay in the city. Alice nodded sympathetically. At that moment, both of them realized that in a certain sense they actually belonged to the same kind of people. At the same time, in the distant city palace, the queen finally received great news. She was pregnant. However, the old king had been ill for many years and the child in her womb was certainly not his. In the queen's eyes, this king was merely a puppet for her to climb to the pinnacle of power. The person the queen truly loved was actually Boyce, the bounty hunter she had known for many years. Now she was finally pregnant with his child, and the kingdom nominally had an heir. The old king, who was about to die, was no longer necessary. The queen decisively strangled him to death in bed. A while later, she sought out the Pope. As long as he supported her, she could firmly sit on the throne of power, and she would ensure the eternal existence of the church. The Pope outwardly agreed very quickly, but then urged the cardinal to swiftly bring Alice back. This way he could accuse the queen of colluding with witches, pushing her into an endless abyss. And the Pope would become the supreme ruler of the city. At this point, there were only 2 days left until the full moon night. Alice and Boyce ran along the railway tracks, clearly feeling the pursuing army closing in from behind. Boyce decided to take the risk of using a dangerous shortcut, which was to directly cross the Devil's Canyon. Legend has it that the devils here appear at night. Their only weakness is their fear of fire. To cross safely, Boyce spread fuel around. At midnight, a group of fierce devils appeared in the darkness. The two immediately lit a fire, but unexpectedly, these devils also had intelligence. They used wooden ladders to cross the flames. Alice hurriedly drew her pair of swords to slash at those that had entered the circle of fire. But ordinary physical attacks had little effect. In the end, they still had to rely on the power of fire. The demon leader revealed a smug smile, and he was seen jumping straight down into the circle of fire from above. Alice and Boyce were completely powerless to resist. At the critical moment, Alice once again activated the power of her magical eyes. The demon leader stood upright as if hypnotized. Alice seized the opportunity, extending her arm forward, and unleashed a large amount of fire. After a fierce explosion, the demon leader and his minions were reduced to ashes. Once everything settled down, Boyce suspiciously asked why he didn't feel the heat of the flames. Alice explained that the flames just now were actually an illusion. When you believe it is real, you will truly be burned to death. In the palace of the human city, the Pope is holding a coronation ceremony for the queen. In front of all the subjects, he announced the queen's pregnancy, declaring that temporarily, the queen holds all the king's powers. Seeing no reaction from the people below, the commander of the guards fired a shot into the sky. Only then did reluctant cheers come from below. The queen was very pleased with the commander's performance. She charmed him with her gentle voice. She said the Pope of the church is arrogant and authoritarian. As long as the Pope is removed, the two of them will have a happy and fulfilling life. It can be seen that this queen is also a master at manipulating people's hearts. Only a day remained before the full moon night. Boyce told Alice that tomorrow they would reach Skull Riverbank. They fought together throughout the journey and grew closer. Alice intended to pay the reward in advance, but Boyce shook his head and refused. He advised Alice to abandon the mission, saying it was still not too late to turn back now. But Alice had no other choice and could only continue to the end. Early the next morning, as the two passed through a tunnel, the train track suddenly vibrated slightly, clearly indicating that the church had caught up. Alice wanted to escape, but it was too late. She decided to use herself as bait. The church's train accelerated to full speed in pursuit. By the time the cardinal realized there was a dead end ahead, it was too late. The entire train, like a mad bull, plunged straight into the abyss, unable to stop. The moment Alice fell, Boys, who was waiting below, caught her. The two coordinated with each other and finally dealt with these persistent people. Cardinal Colosso received news of the failed operation and decided to mobilize the followers to directly overthrow the queen. But unexpectedly, the commander of the guards acted first, surrounding and directly killing him. Meanwhile, Alice and Boys finally reached their destination at Skull River Bank. Looking around, the land was covered with human bones, making it hard to imagine how many people this werewolf had killed. Boys once again advised Alice that it was not too late to turn back now. She was fundamentally not his match. Alice did not reply, but slowly put the silver blades on her fingers. Tonight is a full moon night. She had prepared everything. When the bright moon emerged from the clouds in the sky, Alice suddenly screamed. It turned out she had long suspected that Boys was the legendary werewolf. Her secret pursuit of him to the lair was to complete the ritual of seizing power. Boys roared angrily. His body began to transform rapidly. However, the blood flowing from the wound was silver in color. Colossal, he fully transformed into a werewolf. Alice waved her hand, and countless crows flew forth. Next, they merged into one entity, then collided with the giant wolf. The werewolf boys forgot that it was all just an illusion. Alice seized the opportunity to deliver a fatal blow, her sharp blade tearing through the werewolf's chest. Boys was unwilling to fall. At that moment, the moon conveniently hid behind the clouds and he returned to his human form. Alice took the opportunity to tend to his wound, but soon after she used a large iron chain to tightly bind him, clearly preparing to begin the process of stripping his powers. Facing a bewildered Boys, Alice spoke up, saying that from the very beginning she had seen through Boys' werewolf identity with her mystical eye. Then, while tending to his wound, she secretly slipped a silver coin under his skin. This was equivalent to mixing silver poison into his blood. Thus, the powerful werewolf became helpless in front of Alice. As the witch prepared to begin the ritual of stripping powers, Boys suddenly requested Alice to fulfill a wish. It was for both of them to be together forever, hunting together, fighting together. Alice's curse grew heavier. She could not refuse anyone. Her eyes revealed a clear inner conflict. At this moment, the moon emerged from behind the clouds again. Boys once again transformed into a werewolf. Alice finally plunged the knife down. The scene shifts to Alice riding a horse back to the human city. The lower-class residents here, seeing her as a savior, began to openly resist the oppression. Alice ignored everything and went straight into the royal palace. In her hand, she held a wolf pelt. As long as the queen sheds blood on it and wears it before dawn, she will be able to inherit the power of the werewolf. The commander of the guards, somewhat angry, reminded Alice of her mission, which was to prevent the queen from inheriting the supernatural power. Alice did not respond but asked the commander to convey to the queen that this wolf pelt belonged to Boys. As a result, the queen held the wolf pelt and cried bitterly. It must be known that Boys was the one she loved the most. The reason the queen wanted to gain power was to become the same kind of person as Boys. That way they could be together forever. As a result, Alice ended up killing Boys. So what meaning does it have for her to become powerful? When the sun rose, Boys' wolf pelt turned into smoke. The act of seizing power automatically failed. Boys unexpectedly regained his strength, only now with an additional fierce scar on his face. Everything was part of Alice's plan, because she couldn't refuse anyone and could only use this method to simultaneously meet everyone's demands. The queen had the opportunity to seize others' powers, but she chose to give it up, which also meant that the request of the head of the guards was fulfilled. As for Boys, he wanted to go hunting with Alice. Now his wish has also come true. The above is the entire content of the movie In the Lost Land. Do you think this movie is good? If you think it's good, comment 111. If you think it's just okay, comment 222. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, and see you again.